What? There's someone left? He has a son? Go bring him here. Hello everyone, my name is Angel Sandoval. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I make these videos weekly in hopes that they encourage you. Guys, I want to get into your enemies who did wrong against you. I'm astonished at King David. As I mentioned in the previous video, I've been in the the book of 2 Samuel. I'm now at chapter 9. The way the story goes is there was King Saul who had a son named Jonathan who was really close to David. And both Saul and his son Jonathan were killed in battle. And unfortunately, Saul was jealous of David and he hunted David for many, many years trying to kill him. And David still couldn't figure out why. And David never went back to God saying, "Why are you allowing this? Why is this man tempted to kill me? Why don't you just, keep him away from me?" But instead, David viewed Saul as a chosen servant of God, the king of Israel. And David, even in all that, respected Saul for who he was. And even so many years later, after David had now been reigning as king and defeated so many enemies by the thousands, years later, as David subsides into his position, he then, let's get right into it, in 2 Samuel 9, David asked, "Is there anyone still left in the house of Saul whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" Now there was a servant of Saul's household named Ziba, and they called him to appear before David, and the king said to him, "Are you Ziba?" Your servant replied, "The king has asked, is there no one still left in the house of Saul whom I can show God's kindness?" And Ziba answered to the king, "There is a son of Jonathan. He is crippled in both feet." And David said, "There's someone left?" Now, I don't know about you, but have you ever wanted to bless your enemy's family? Even in the earlier chapters, I read that some of David's soldiers went and killed Saul's last standing son, who was the king, in his bed while he was sleeping, and brought that person's head to David. And David's like, "Do you guys think you're doing me a service by bringing me a king of Israel's son's head?" And David ended up killing them. Not everything that you think is right, and not everything that you think is wrong is wrong. And just because God removed Saul from his position, it wasn't David's judgment to pass on to Saul, but to rather show love and kindness, even though God was the one punishing. And even after that, Jonathan was the one that would always, when he was alive, go to David and tell him every move his dad was making, because they loved each other more than brothers. And when David heard Jonathan died, it broke him horribly. And he had probably been mourning for many years over that. And to find out he had a lame son, a crippled son, I bet you David's eyes, he was probably with his head down and his eyes are like, "What? There's someone left? He has a son? Go bring him here." Verse 5, King David had him brought, I can't say these words right, Lodabar, from the house of Mechar of Amnil. And when the son of Jonathan, his name was Mephibosheth, I can't say that right, I'm probably messing that up, but Mephibosheth, grandson of Saul, came to David and bowed down to pay him honor. And David said to Mephibosheth, "Don't be afraid." David said to him, "I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan, and I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table." Now, David is the one that prayed, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He prepareth a table for me in the presence of my enemies." Who were David's enemies? Saul and all his armies. And God still prepared a table for David. In other words, David's like, "I'm not going to sweat who's against me. I'm just going to sit down and enjoy this meal with God and let him handle it." And God is saying to you today, let him handle it. Whatever it is you're going through, he's got you. You're in the palm of his hands. And even though it seems like he's not answering the way you want or in the timetable that you want, God has you in the palm of his hands. All he wants you to do is love the way David found Jonathan's son and gave him a new home and restored him. Instead of David saying, let's go kill all of Saul's family so I don't have any enemies that'll come back later on, he blessed his enemy's grandson. Guys, bless, do not curse, love, and do not hate. And watch what God does. Anyway, I love you. God bless you. Always praying for you. If you have any prayer requests, my email's on your screen. God bless you.